Hello fellow critics, welcome back to The Alley, the show that digs into the roots of pop culture, no matter how small our fruits of labor. One of Nintendo's biggest little IPs, Pikmin, has been one of my personal favorites since it debuted way back on the GameCube. Everything from the catchy, serene soundtrack to the visually stimulating levels they created, and of course, the enigmatic sprites of the Pikmin themselves. 'Twas love at first sight. What made it even better, in my opinion, was the time limit they slopped you with from the very beginning. It felt a lot like Majora's Mask, which is my favorite Legend of Zelda title. Not everyone loves them, but time crunches really get my blood boiling, in a good way. For those unfamiliar with it, Captain Olimar is leisurely heading home when an asteroid hits his ship, forcing it down onto PNF 404 harder than a purple Pikmin smashes shear grubs. Catastrophic. As his ship plunges through orbit, piece by piece falls off, leaving him 30 parts short of a full observation deck. His ship is called the Dolphin, which, fun fact, was the original name for the GameCube itself. It was even supposed to be shaped like a dolphin, which would have broken into 30 little pieces when it fell off your shelf. Unlike the exceptionally sturdy shape that the GameCube ended up with. Although, I think it would have been cool to have a team of Pikmin piece it back together every time your dolphin fell apart. I honestly think a team of Pikmin to help repair anything would be super cool. I just want real life Pikmin because I love the little guys so much. Closest thing I got though is Pikmin Bloom, which you can get on your phone. Also, if you play Pikmin Bloom, go ahead and add me. My name is Critic Alley, like it is on literally every game we can put it on. I'm easier to find than all 30 pieces of your ship. Olimar's fate in the first game lies heavily on your ability to gather all of those pieces because he only has 30 days worth of life support in his tank. One per day is harder than it sounds. We go on 4 other quests with our Pikmin, including Hey Pikmin, the weird side-scrolling game that tried to break away from the 3D bird's-eye view puzzle solving. Throughout them all, we get lots of lore and things to ponder. The most notable thing, in my opinion, that we don't get any explanation for are the Bulbmin. Introduced in the underground sections of Pikmin 2, those adorable little buggers are just as mysterious as they are seldomly seen. You only get a couple opportunities to bump into them and utilize them if you have room on your team. Not only do they make their own cute little noises, but they're also immune to every elemental hazard that damages the rest of your Pikmin, and they can't leave their cave of origin, making them even more special and mysterious. And that got me thinking, of course, how did those lovable little creatures that we call Bulbmin come to exist on this ever-evolving planet? Well, like most things that I enjoy, I've come up with a few explanations that'll help you sleep at night, even if it is from orbit because your planet is too hostile at night, much like PNF 404. So, we know how Pikmin regularly reproduce. They beat the bug-like species of the planet into the afterlife, then drag their lifeless carcasses back, much like the ants they borrow the tactics from. Similar to ants, they can group up and carry much more than their own body weight, especially the purple guys. Now, picture this scenario with me. Our lovable little Pikmin win a tough battle against various creatures, including Bulborb, Dwarf Bulborb, or 3 of them because they generally group up for survival. As they carry them back to feed the onion, which is their home, it absorbs it up and the Pikmin seedlings come spewing out the top and hurtling towards the earth, looking for the nutrients they need to grow into full-fledged Pikmin. Now, what if one of these seedlings comes hurtling down and implants itself into a Dwarf Bulborb as if it was soil? The way Louie digs into, well, everything he can get his grubby little hands on. Normally, it takes a little bit for the Pikmin to sprout up out of the ground, but with the added nutrients within the Dwarf Bulborb and having a body to literally reanimate, it would probably happen much quicker and then no longer be seen as food source by the onion, since we know the onions won't absorb living characters. The bread bugs are damaged by the absorption process, but they will not be absorbed until their life is fully depleted. And living bug monsters can run right through it while chasing you and your troops down. The Hokatations and the Kopites will be bounced off in a similar manner if they're not inside of the stasis mode or otherwise incapacitated, which we know if that happens will turn them into the leaflings from Pikmin 4. When the seedling plants, sprouts, and it pops back up to life, it would immediately be recognized as kinfolk as they are down in the caves you find them in. Except the larger ones, which develop into kind of an adversary against Olimar because there can only be one. Except for Louis, President, and the other characters, but you get what I mean. The problem with that is, since they're not a color that matches any of the onions, they won't have a place to go to when night falls and the rest tuck themselves safely away. Every Pikmin has their own den that only allow the specific color in. And yes, I know that they all mold together in 3 and 4, but I consider that more of a gameplay mechanic rather than an actual scientific thing, just to make it easier for you to withdraw and return your Pikmin to. Also, there is no Bulbmin onion for them to mold in with the rest of them. With no safe place for them to tuck away into, where would they go? Well, the game actually answers that with the caverns. It just so happens that most creatures can't hop into those holes, or they don't seem to be able to at least. Pikmin both can and will survive the huge plunge to get down into those caverns. I think that's why the bug monsters won't pursue you into the depths if you hop into them mid-battle. I've always figured that the creatures that are down there burrowed in through the sides to take up residence. But without an onion, how would the Bulbmin continue their legacy? Well, they are hybrid creatures after all, so the Bulborb instinct to eat every creature around it probably would combine with the Pikmin genetics to reproduce, which is why they probably end up with a little bit bigger Bulbmin for leaders as they create the little dudes. The little guys you can recruit haven't munched as much and are more innocent without the bloodshed, so they're more likely to fall in line with the rest of your Pikmin troops. It more than likely takes a long time for them to grow up into a form big enough to lead like the Alpha Bulbmin, which explains why you don't see very many of them in their respective game. Feasting on the plants and mushroom bits along with the ever-present shear grub would be more than enough food for them, I can imagine. And this route of thinking gets my whimsical radar humming. Have you ever heard of cordyceps? The way they have dug their mycelium into pop culture leads me to believe that you probably have, especially considering The Last of Us is heavily inspired by them. If you aren't too familiar, allow me to enlighten you. Cordyceps are a genus of fungi known for their parasitic relationship with insects. Some species, like Cordyceps sinensis, are known for their use in traditional Chinese medicine for their potential health benefits. Another species, known as Orpheocordyceps unilateralis, are the ones responsible for taking over ant behaviors, exhibiting zombie-like behaviors as the fungi consumes them. Zombie ants. They are also recorded to interact with other species, such as moths. Since Pikmin are a pretty invasive species already when you stop and think about it, it doesn't seem like a stretch that they too would be able to exhibit these characteristics. Although the relationship that they have as Bulbmin seems more symbiotic and mutually beneficial. In the Bulbmin are two species combined, remember. The Bulborb half no longer fears the Pikmin and has the support of its cousins, and the Pikmin no longer fears the elemental injuries that it received as Pikmin. It's worth noting that Puffstool are creatures that exist in the first Pikmin game and have a similar effect with their spores, causing the Pikmin that you control to become traitorous zombies, turning on their own and attacking Olimar. They're called Mushroom Pikmin, or commonly Puffmin, and this behavior is only exhibited in the first game, although the Puffstool appears again in Pikmin 4. I theorize that this behavior ceases because once the Pikmin have been introduced to the stimulus, they grow a resistance to it, and probably even end up utilizing it since, as the Puffmin disappeared, the Bulbmin appeared. Coincidence? Or evolution? One final fun bit of info from me today. When you go to Universal Studios down in Hollywood and visit the Super Nintendo world, because of course you need to ride that Mario Kart ride, you'll notice that it's filled with mostly Mario and pals. But some eagle-eyed visitors will be able to spot some tiny invaders. That's right, the Pikmin have snuck in and are causing havoc among Super Nintendo World. There are at least 2 locations that my son and I found when we went down there to visit for his birthday celebration. We both got so excited when we found them. Here's a picture of one group, and I'm going to leave it to you guys to find the location of the others. And you'll find them doing what Pikmin do. It's 100% worth the trip. I guarantee it. And we aren't even sponsored, so that's free advertisement. Unless, of course, you want to throw some free perks our way, Nintendo. Wink, wink. The world is an amazing place, and sometimes the littlest parts make the biggest impact. Start yourself a garden. Grow your own smiles. It might just save your life like it did for Captain Olimer. Critically yours, the Fox.